Well, fantastic. It is lovely to meet you all. Let's just before we kind of kick off, can we get like a hands up or anyone just shout out if you saw myself or Ed at one of the following sessions? Like it's nice to see who's a regular. No one wants to go off mute.
Hi, yep. I was there. I was there at I think two of them. I was there at.
Very cool, Kevin. Were the pop quizzes? What was something that you learned and have taken away and kind of embraced in some way in your business?
So one thing I found useful was the logo, creating like the logo quick and easy. Like I was like messing around for ages trying to create one. I managed to get off the app, which what's the guy's name? Was it Mark? Was it? but
that's
yeah, anyway.
me.
Oh yes, you're Mark. But yeah, it was the logo, which I found good.
Did you build it on Canva?
It was Canva.
That's likely to be me. So the top tip here for anyone who's looking to get really easy designs, Canva is just one of the absolute best tools. I should work for them. I sell their stuff so much. But really, it's just super easy. Equally, Infinity Publisher is also great if you've just got to kind of get going and move quickly. And you will find that a lot of our themes are recurring, right? So just as we've been talking about ideation and moving quickly and breaking stuff, and applying the kind of startup methodology, it's very much the same with pitching. I cannot emphasize enough, you want to get going, get in front of an audience, even if it's just your brother, your sister, your mum, your dad, whoever you've got in the house with you, or someone over Zoom. You want to practice this stuff as soon as possible. And then today we're really going to kind of give you some clear first steps, some structure. We're going to talk a lot about your body language, how you hold yourself, and how you really make sure you're convincing, passionate, and people really enjoy listening to you. Does that sound good? You can just shake some heads, some nods, or just hang up if you don't want to listen to me for the next like 40 minutes. That's fine. It is funny. It does take used to, like, cracking jokes is always a risk, but when you're doing it when there's zero laughter because everyone's on mute, it's a really weird experience. You still get used to it. So with that, we've got lots to go through in a short period of time. So I'm going to be relatively concise, but please, please, please do unmute yourself and just say, hey, if you've got a burning question. It's nice to have a little bit of back and forth, even in difficult circumstances, right? And yes, we'll be sharing these slides as well. And there's some sections in here that I'm going to go over super quickly so that you get the gist of it and you can refer back to it later. So as I said, the focus today really is all around nailing your pitch. And for some context, 10 years ago, I was a horrendous presenter. I have a ridiculously vivid memory of being slightly more than 10 years ago now in school and having to give a presentation in a group. It was about a historical topic that I really genuinely am interested in and enjoyed. And I thought this is going to be fine. This is easy. I know my stuff. And I stood up and just nothing, just fear, blank eyes, blank brain, absolutely nothing, right? And afterwards, I realized that it was pretty obvious why that happened. I hadn't really done my research. I just assumed I knew what I was talking about. And I thought I was confident, but I'd never tested it. So I didn't know what it would feel like to stand up in front of that class and give that presentation. So I froze. I don't do that now because I've done lots and lots of practice scenarios and I've been in front of lots and lots of audiences so that you get used to doing this and feeling comfortable doing this. So challenge number one is the more you stretch yourself, the more you do this. And I literally mean I will open up my own Zoom and have a meeting with no one in it, and I will stand here and I will give a pitch, right? You can screen record it, you can watch it back to yourself, and I know what you're going to say. Oh, I hate the sound of my voice. Oh my God, I look terrible. You can't worry about these things too much. And if you really do, this is a £12 microphone. £12 microphone, and it makes a world of difference, right? I'm standing in front of a window, which is why my terrible camera is like giving me a respectable view. If I go and do this in my normal office area, I'm bathed in darkness, and my 2020 MacBook with a camera that's 20 or 10 years old, which is ridiculous, doesn't do the job. So you learn these things by practicing, and you will just get better. And that really applies to every element of this. Let's do a little quick raise of hands, by the way. Hands up who gets really nervous when they're doing a presentation. Let's be really honest. Yeah? Good. Nerves show that you care. People who say they're not nervous either don't care enough about what they're doing or they're a liar, right? So the best presenters are people who just go, God, I feel really nervous for this one. You know, this is a big pitch for funding or for the next stage of something. And yeah, I'm nervous because it means a lot to me, my business, my friends, my co-founders, etc. So you recognize that and you start getting used to just channeling it into a calm, positive energy, right? So much, again, that comes from practice. So I will move away from just talking about practice, but I hope that point is rammed home as the foundation of everything here, right? When you see great presenters, do not ever assume, oh my gosh, they have it all, right? They're just such an amazing presenter. Steve Jobs was meticulous at his practice and presentation for every element of every single one of their launches. It was not a coincidence. He was brilliant. So in terms of that agenda, we're going to do the first kind of half of this session around, or first third around kind of that content. What is it that people want to hear from you? And then we're going to talk through the body language. And yes, we'll talk about that in relation to kind of today and being on Zoom and doing video recordings. As you can see, I'm using my hands a lot. You can also tell I'm standing, right? And I'm standing because it just gives me more energy. It opens up the shoulders, the back, the chest, more oxygen, more strength, more certainty, confidence. All these things really come together, and that comes out through body language. And then the last section, about 5:45, I'm going to invite in one of my colleagues, Howard Duffy, and the two of us are going to split into two different rooms. So then you guys can give us the kind of the 2-minute pitch that if you've already got, and we can give you some feedback on. Or, and we'll take a little break at this point as well, so you can go get tea, coffee, water, hydrate. And if you haven't already started your presentation, that's absolutely fine. And you might want to start a little introduction, and then you can do the introduction as a practice to myself or Howard, and we can give you some feedback, and also on, you know, your tone and your body language and so forth. So I hope that sounds good. If it doesn't, again, now is the time to either put your hand up or hang out and storm off. Good. So, yeah, there's been myself and Ed kind of delivering these programs, and you'll see us kind of popping up as the show continues. We've both been in the entrepreneurial world and education world for the last 10 years now, and we've both presented in front of quite large audiences. That one of me is, in fact, in front of 3,000 people last year in San Francisco, which is amazing. But was I any more nervous than an audience for 10 people? No. Because the skills that I'm using are all exactly the same. The practice, the confidence, all of these things are the same. Your brain just freaks out that it's going to be lots more people judging you, and you just rationally reassure yourself that I'm going to deliver the same presentation. It's going to be just as brilliant. So, but moving on, because we have got a lot to kind of crack on through. Here are our kind of our clear steps for really getting yourself sorted for this pitch in particular, and in general. Can't emphasize this enough. Always begin by thinking about your audience, right? I don't care what you want to tell me. I care about what I want to hear, right? If I'm a purchaser, I'm a customer, I'm an investor, or whatever it might be, I'm interested in me, right? How is your product going to add value to my life, or people I'm going to sell it to, or how are you going to make me money, right? That's why investors invest in businesses. And if it's a social impact business, if it's a charity, then they're not investing so much in the financial return, but they are still fundamentally looking for a return. So what is that? Why should anyone care about your pitch, right? Always ask yourself this question, and it's fine if you don't know the answer yet, but you keep asking and you will get there. Especially, you know, you're in a team, you brainstorm it between each other, and you make great progress. If in doubt, go really big picture. What is the societal impact of what you're doing? How will it transform businesses, people's lives? Why does it matter? Linked into this is probably my favorite quote about pitching possible, from the wonderful, incredible Dr. Maya Angelou, whose books and poems I thoroughly recommend you read if you haven't come across her before, and also a wonderful civil rights activist. She said, I have learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So when you are writing a presentation or you are practicing it, always ask yourself, what feelings am I eliciting in my audience? When I've been in the education world, one of the feelings that I always kind of make sure that I demonstrate when I'm pitching is one of real frustration and challenge, right? When we're talking about societal inequalities, like, you should be pissed off. It would be disingenuous, it would be inauthentic to not be, if you are passionate about creating change in that space. So don't be afraid to really demonstrate your emotions and show them, because then your audience can feel them with you, right? If you have a mind-bogglingly inventive product, then allow that to come across so your audience can go, oh my God, this is totally beyond the realm of what I ever thought was possible for this product, and I'm blown away by it. Phenomenal, right? If this is the most basic, simple product ever, then yeah, you preach that simplicity and you're making me feel how easy it would be to use. And then I'll go, God, that's amazing. Can you imagine owning that and it being that useful and that easy to use? What is that feeling, right? If you're always pushing towards that feeling, then you will really, really, really impress your audience. One of the important things and one of the important learnings you can really get through going through a program like this is that by watching lots of other people present, you can also be kind of grading your own styles against other people, insofar as you can learn what other people do really well and go, oh, I should do more of that. Yeah, I should do more of that. Or, oh, wow, the way they explain their business was so clear and simple. I don't do it that well. How can I explain my business as effectively as they do? Right? The more you look at other people and how they're doing and reflect on that, the faster your learning curve and journey will be. Right? Imagine when I started training people how to pitch, imagine the impact that had on me as a presenter, right? It's obvious. The more you think about it, the more you're learning and reflecting, and you grow. So do embrace these opportunities. So step 2, your story, right? Make this personal. Why you, right? It's one thing that I like the product maybe, or the business, but what makes you special? Why are you doing this? Why do you care about acne treatment? Why do you care about a new editing software? Why do you care about whatever it might be? So find your own personal story and share it, because people genuinely buy into it. People are genuinely interested. They're not asking as a criticism. It's always a genuine intrigue. Like, why? So what brought you into the world of education? What brought you into the world of landscape gardening? I don't know. I'm intrigued. So tell them. Step 3. This is not one of my originals. I got taught this years ago and it's stuck with me. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. You don't have to do this at the start, but it's such an easy and killer way to do it. You start with a brain harpoon. And what we mean by this is something it just grabs your attention. It kind of blows your mind and it puts everything into perspective. The best one I've ever heard was from a couple of friends of mine who run a business called Mammock, which does it's an online sustainable clothing retailer. Really encourage you to go buy some stuff off there. Great. When they pitch, they stand up on stage and go, ladies and gentlemen, did you know that 76% of British high street retailers suspect modern slavery in their supply chain? And they just hold that, because the whole audience goes, is it that bad? I had no idea. It makes you forget about any other presentation you watched, and you're totally in the moment and you're totally dedicated to the person presenting. So finding your equivalent of that can be really, really powerful. Did you know that my industry is doubling year on year to whatever? Did you know that the average person has whatever? Did you know, or this is the case, right? Or this happens. Really, really effective. You don't have to use this. It's just a very effective tool. Number 4, starting to actually write your pitch script. First off, there's 2 ways of really looking at things. Some people really like to have a full script and deliver it word for word. If that is you and that's how your brain works, then great, make sure you do that. A lot of other people will go the other route, which is I need headings and structure, but then the natural words will come to me as I go. What's important is that you identify with the right category that you fit into and then embrace that. And each have their pitfalls. You're more likely to sound more authentic when you are delivering things kind of naturally, right? But equally, you're more likely to run over and lose track of time. And then it's the reverse if you have a full script. So you need to practice what's right for you. And in terms of when you're delivering this, you know, if I stood and did the whole presentation like this, looking at the script, it would feel very odd. So you also have to practice how you then deliver it once you know the script. And perhaps even more so on video, because it's just so tempting to look over here. The key element in here as well is the iterative side of things, making sure that you're constantly redrafting, improving, you know, send a script for someone to read, deliver it online to someone. You know, reading and audio hearing things are very separate experiences, right? And some pitches can look good written down and sound less good. So you want to try a bit of both. So step 5, regardless of which methodology you kind of or approach you take, you do want to start with kind of headings, or even better, outcomes. What is it that you are trying to achieve in each like section or slide in your presentation? Are you trying to demonstrate your credibility, for example, right? I have 12 PhDs from Oxford and Cambridge and MIT, and great, right? Is it, we have a board of advisors of XYZ, great, right? And then you measure the success of your point against, are you hitting the outcome? Does this make you feel incredibly, does it make you feel credible? Does it make people want to go, wow, right? Or does it make people go, yeah, that's a really simple, beautiful product, I would love to use it. So it's a very good way of evaluating your presentation and giving you early structure, right? Because as you create structure, you're trying to create an overall narrative and flow in the presentation. So it all makes sense. So this is a slide more for you guys for later rather than for now, but this is very much the kind of some key things that you can go back to and refer to, like, do you actually have this in here? So we've got the brain harpoon, we've got the story, like my story is I've come from this journey, I've had this journey, which gives me this relative experience of the product or the necessity behind it, problem, solution, market, you know, have you got lots of users? Where are you going to get your users from? That kind of thing. Competitive advantage is a big one. You know, why now? Why you? What's different about you versus your competitors or what's out there? If any of you are ever going to say we don't have any competitors, I'll tune out, and everyone else will as well. You always, always, always have competitors. They might just not be direct competitors, right? If you're creating a brand new market or a new type of product, sure, no one else is creating the XYZ of skincare, right? But you are in competition with every other skincare brand that is competing for a male or a female or a gender neutral individual to purchase that product for that individual, right? So you have to make it clear that where you're operating, what that space looks like, right? And skincare might also be competing with hair care, because I might only have a budget of £10 a month, £20 a month, £100 a month for these products, of which it all fits into a category. So you have to think laterally as well when you are looking at your competition. And then the last one, and there's really ending with a bang. So many people just forget to write a conclusion. It's as simple as that. They just forget, or you rush, or worst of all, you end with a, oh gosh, I'm running out of time, or I'm sorry, I've overrun. If you overrun, you've already overrun. It's fine. Just finish as strongly as you can and hope that it doesn't matter. A lot of the time it doesn't. But if you apologize for yourself, you kind of undo all the good work. So make sure you have a key line that you always deliver over and over and over again, right? It might be something simple like, you know, join us on our vision to achieve XYZ, right? And you just always end on your vision. Simple. Lots of ways to experiment, but make sure it's a memorable and really strong conclusion. People will remember your introduction and your conclusion more than anything else. Cool. And then the last little bit here is kind of really emphasizing that point about refining both yourself and the script itself. Plenty and plenty and plenty of drafts, and then track them all, right? I'm a big fan of, when I edit stuff out of a presentation, I tend to put it at the bottom of a document or in a separate document, because sometimes I come back to it. I might do a 2-minute pitch for this, but a couple of weeks later I'm going to do a 5-minute pitch. So actually I write something that's really useful for the longer pitch, but not quite right for the short pitch. Keep all this stuff, right? You think of yourself like an artist. The vast majority of musicians all subscribe to Pareto's principle, which is 80% or 20% of what you do will yield 80% of your results, right? And a lot of musicians will say, yeah, I write 80% of what I write is garbage, but the 20% of what I write is phenomenal. And I still have to write 100% of it to get to the 20% that's amazing. And I'm a big fan of that approach as well when it comes to pitching. Constantly refine. And this point on screen at the moment is an absolute killer. If you cannot write your message in a sentence, then you cannot say it in an hour. Every single one of you should be able to explain your business in one sentence. If you can't now, that's okay. But again, there's a challenge for you after today's session. Go away and do that, because it is so powerful when you can then talk to an investor and they just go, oh, sorry, so what is it that you do again? And just one clear line. Powerful. Because then it also gives them the option to ask the questions that they care about, right? Are they interested in the quality of the product? Are they interested in how much you can sell it? Are they interested in who you are? Are they interested in your history? Are they interested in your advisors? Like, do they want to make an investment? Do they want to introduce you to people? There's so many things that go through people's heads. And if you spend minutes and minutes talking at people, then they just get bored, no matter how good your product is, because people like asking questions and they like to make it personal. So listen more, refine more, and you'll deliver quality pitches all the time with practice. Okay, so moving on to give you just a little bit of structure. Again, you don't have to use this one. It's just one of the easiest ways of operating. The pyramid principle is you literally just start with a very concise point at the top and just flow down, expanding into detail like a book, from title, chapters, headings, text. Simple, simple, simple. Don't have to use it, but it's very, very powerful. Another example before we move on actually is also start with why, the kind of the golden circle approach, whose name suddenly escapes me. I've said his name about 1 million times and it's now lost from me. But if Simon you start, Sinek. There we go, Simon Sinek, right? Every good entrepreneur has come across him in some form. His video, which is really outdated, terrible tech and so forth, but it's still one of the best, and it's in the top 10 most viewed TED Talks of all time, because it's so compelling about how you sell. Again, it's about the why. Why does it matter? Why you? And then the how. How are you doing this, right? Before you get to the what. Everybody knows their what, right? Like, we sell X technology. We sell these products, right? That's what you do. But how do you do it? Everything we do is innovative, built from scratch, in-house. We take a creative mindset to everything we do. Everything we do is about simplicity, beauty, creative, whatever, right? And why I do that is because I'm passionate about X, Y, Z, right? And when you go why, how, what, it's a beautiful structure and very, very powerful. So I'd encourage you to use one of those too. Next section I'm going to whiz through. This is very much for a typical structure according to Sequoia Capital, who are kind of one of the most influential VCs out there. VCs do not know everything, I promise you that, but this is a very, very simple and useful and common structure. And the advantage of that is that when you do what everyone else is doing, it's really easy to follow, and investors can go tick, 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 tick. Cool, I want to arrange a meeting. And again, you really want to understand your purpose and why you're talking to people. Most people seem to have this crazy idea that they're going to send a pitch deck to someone and they're going to be so overblown and wowed away that they're going to want to invest. Nobody thinks that way. People look at a pitch deck and go, cool, I'll have a chat. Right? So you don't want a pitch deck that is perfect in what you think it is. You need a pitch deck that makes me go, as the investor, let's have a chat. Right? And then you need to figure out how you're going to pitch to me that now we're having a chat, that you're worth investing, right? But this structure, I mean, these are some of the companies Sequoia have invested in, right, to say the least. And this is their little template, which will whiz through. Really, it goes through kind of that purpose, the why, the problem, which again, if you were in that session where we talked about problem, that real importance of understanding what you're solving, your solution, your why now, market size. I see one good market size slide for every 100 slides. So if you're struggling with it, so is everyone else. Don't panic. Do the best you can and move on. Most of these slides are total, like most market sizing is total garbage because it's all projections about the industry. Everything future based is always, you know, anything based on 2019 projections has obviously been completely wiped out by COVID. Don't overthink it. Competition. If you tell me you got no direct competition, I won't email you and we won't have that chat. It's as simple as that. Product, making it like, and you can see like you're not even talking about your product until this far through the pitch. Business model, really, really clear. And that just means whenever people talk about business model, all I need to hear is how are you actually making money? Who are you selling to? And are you actually going to make real money off this? Right? That's what I'm looking for. And then your team, who are you? And maybe at the financials in terms of like, what is it that you're really asking for? You can totally mess with this, but if you mess with it, do so with intent and with a creative flair, knowing that you're breaking the template structure that the majority of people use, right? I'm a rule breaker. I would mess with this, but it's because I've also seen so many of these that I feel comfortable doing that, right? For a first draft, definitely try and make sure you tick off all these things. The following slides kind of just go through this stuff. I really would encourage you to read this on your own. Don't worry, we're not going to go through this now. But it gives you enough to kind of talk about, to understand what it is you vaguely need to do. And again, there are so many slide decks online this day and age, you know, it will give you a lot of confidence going through them and seeing what other people do. Cool. This is so that you can actually record your pitch. Lots and lots of ways of doing it. I also, you know, in this day and age, most people will have a phone that has a better camera than their laptop. You know, don't be afraid to mix things up, have a few different shots from a few different angles. You know, you can make really professional videos in this day and age with almost no practice or skills, using things like iMovie, Loom, or Veed is an AI-based editing software. Like there's so much good stuff out there and so much of it is free. So I do think you can make a really, really amazing pitch. And again, lighting and sound quality will do more to the quality of your pitch than anything else you will invest in. So cool. At this point, let's take a quick check-in. Have we got any questions, comments, or concerns? I need to come out of my pitch to have a look. What do I think of using the value canvas alongside the business model canvas? Yes, great. I'm a big fan of all of those. Social business model canvas, and any one of them they're really powerful tools, and they are ongoing planning tools. They are never finished. They are living documents that you consistently add into, and more importantly, they're documents that you can refer back to, right? And they're documents that will ask you questions and you'll go, oh my gosh, I'd never thought of that. I don't have an answer. And as a result, you go and figure out the answer, right? Okay. Video strictly 2 minutes or okay? I'd stick to 2 minutes. Cool. Does the video need anything other than us speaking?
Sorry.
Kat, do you want to chime in?
If you have, it slightly depends on your idea. If you have a prototype of your product and you have that you can hold up and show, and it's clear and visible in that amount of screen, then yes, but we are saying that you are the focus of the pitch. So you or a team member needs to stay visible at all times, and do be aware of what is actually readable in this kind of a situation. So if it doesn't add to your pitch, then I wouldn't include it.
Cool.
I have a quick question about logos, if I could. Yeah. So my partner and I, we both have separate logos. Should we also be developing one for the product itself? Because it's kind of a collaboration of the two brands.
Keep it simple. Like, your audience doesn't necessarily need to know all of the things that you want to tell them, right? So what is the cleanest, simplest way of going, this is us, right? And it might be, this project is a combination of, these two amazing groups, and together we have built X, Y, Z.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Does the mayor's office have floating licenses for prototyping things like Azure that we can use for people who have just graduated? We don't have the same access as uni students do. It's a good question.
We don't directly, but a lot of the universities that we work with across London do have, they open up their same systems to alumni, particularly entrepreneurial alumni.
Yeah.
So if you get in touch with your enterprise group at your university, often they will help you get access through your old systems, so you won't lose anything that you were working on, and you'll still have access to what you did have if you've just graduated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as one of the entrepreneurs in residence at King's College London, right, you come to people like me, or the entrepreneurial staffing team, which you can find really easily, right? If you get in touch, if you Google them or tweet them, is a good way of just doing it, and that applies to any of the universities, really. Like, they all have decent kind of entrepreneurial divisions at the moment. And then we will move on in a second, but the last question is, our product is digital. Can we show it behind the speaker or add some minimal graphics overlaid in the video? Kat, can I default to you on that?
Yeah, it's sounding also, everything that Ed's saying about kind of keeping it authentic, keeping your passion is what's going to sell the product more than a screenshot you could show or some graphics in that respect. So I advise against it, really, just to keep it as close as possible to you pitching and showing your passion and demonstrating your idea through your voice, rather than having it as kind of slides in the background. So that would be my advice on that one.
Cool. So with that, let's talk about effective body language. I will ask this as a question, so you can jump off mute. What does body language look like, especially effective body language? What's going on?
I can go. So
Yes.
body language, I would say it would be the voice tone, the eye contact,
Yep.
and yeah, I mean the shoulders not being like siding, more like straight, maybe. Hand gestures. Yeah.
Okay, great start. So we've got vocal tones. That's absolutely a big part of it. And then you've kind of given me some specific things in terms of eye contact and shoulders. I would put that into kind of, your physical body, right? What you're doing with it. And then so I'm going to split I'm going to split body language against vocal tones, and then we're going to split it against the content itself. Now, if you're watching a presentation, what do you think is most impactful to you in terms of your vocal tones, your body language, and then the actual content that people are saying? What do you guys think?
Vocal tone?
Vocal tone from Josephine?
Yeah, vocal tone as well.
Yeah.
Vocal tone from Ishan? Anyone else? Take a wager?
It's a combination of both, I'd say. Both like vocal tone and kind of like body language, use of hands to like emphasize things.
Sure, so an even split between the two?
Cassandra's content on the chat.
Oh, yeah, I can't see the chat while I'm in presentation mode, I should say. Okay, very cool. Anyone else? Last chance?
I would say eyes and kind of engagement that way.
Okay, very cool. So, believe it or not, this is how it breaks down. At the absolute smallest end, content is really just having like a 7% impact on you in terms of what you're absorbing and the feeling that people have when they're watching you. Next up, it's vocal tones at 38%. Think about when you were at university and you had that one lecturer that would just talk completely monotonously like this, and even though they'd say really useful things, it was the same all the time, right? And then as the most impactful side, body language is taking up a whopping 55% of how your brain is digesting information, right? So that is why I am standing on stage waving my hands like this to convey body language, right? And on Zoom, it is like even more accentuated and exaggerated. There are some stats that were floating around before COVID that were saying things like, if you do a video call, like people are like 70% more likely to be doing something else or not pay attention if you don't have the video on. So just listening to the voice, people just kind of tune out and they start doing emails or whatever, right? And then once you put the video on, people feel a responsibility to listen, and then they become more engaged. And then because people are now so used to just seeing maybe just a face and people sitting down and not doing anything, it actually makes it even easier when you practice to really bring out your body language and your vocal tones so that you are more energetic and more enthusiastic, more passionate, more engaging, and people will really kind of fall in love with your presentation, your pitch, your product, your business, your solution, whatever it is that you are sharing. And so this gives you such a big advantage if you go off and practice it. So what is it that you really need to be practicing? These are kind of some of my favorite things that I really use, that are a combination of kind of body language tools, but also narrative storytelling tools that you then kind of fit in with kind of how it is that you are saying it. So I'll share a few in terms of what they mean, and then if you guys want to stick your hand up and ask me any questions, we'll go from there, right? I've got confidence on there. You know, confidence comes across very clearly, right? But that confidence comes from where? Well, people always say it comes from within, right? But what does that mean? Well, I'm confident in this presentation. Why? And I'll ask you, why would I be confident delivering this? Just shout out. In fact, you can say yourselves all off mute, it's fine.
Practice.
All right. Practice, right? This is clearly not the first time I've done this workshop. It's been a success before, therefore it should be a success again. Tick, right? Can you apply that to yourselves when doing a pitch? Definitely. What else? This is good reflective learning.
Because you believe in it?
Yeah, right? I truly believe in what I'm saying. So therefore it is easier to sell, right? What else?
You've done the research, preparation.
Done the research, done the preparation. I know my stats. Great. Next. One more. So if you're putting it in the chat, I have to come out of my slideshow to have a look.
It can be the cause, the cause, how passionate you are about the cause, overall.
Right. So all of that is like that comes through because of then how I'm expressing myself. Right. There is movement. You can hear the vocal changes in my tone. You can see what I've practiced. Like you can tell I know where my screen is, so that my hands are in the right place, I hope. And I've also said there's authority there, and that authority comes from confidence, and then you'll get more confidence as people start treating you as an authority, right? So again, that comes with that practice and timing. There's a nice one here as well, where they've said practice because you're in charge and you're seen as the expert. Obviously that's the case now because I've been invited in to give this presentation, but let's be clear, you've been invited in to give a pitch to the mayor. Like, well done. That's really awesome. So that should be a massive authority and credibility stamp for you guys. So when you go up to pitch, you should be reminding yourself, yeah, I've been invited to do this. I'm an authority figure on my business. I know this stuff inside out. And clearly they buy into me as well. Okay. Projection Obviously very important when you have a big audience and stage in front of you. You're talking to the back of the room, but it's the same thing here, right? I'm not talking, the words aren't just coming out of my mouth. I am talking very clearly through the computer, through the microphone. I'm ensuring that this space is surrounded by my voice so it is strong and powerful, right? Practice that side of things and listen to yourself back, and you will hear the dramatic change from when you start to when you start delivering. Any questions about anything on here? Yes, Danielle.
About 3 is the magic number.
3 is the magic number. Have you heard the song? It's a wonderful song. You should go away and listen to it on Spotify afterwards. But it's also just one of these really weird pieces of information that's totally accurate. Someone genuinely did some research onto it recently, and the only kind of thing they could come up with was that 2 pieces of information for the human brain just isn't that satisfying, and 4 is just a bit too much for our tiny little brains. So when you say things in the rule of 3, so for instance, you know, my product is absolutely beautiful, it's easy to use, and it's affordable. Nice, right? It's got a nice feel to it, right? Or like, there are only 3 things in this world I'm passionate about, and that's education, education, and education. Right? Nice point. So you can see how powerful it can be. And it also just stops you from being too complicated, right? If you start telling me 8 different features of your product, you've used up most of your time. But you tell me 3, and ideally benefits, not features, then people are going to be loving it. Cool, next one. I might not see your hand if it's up because I can't see everyone at the same time. Any questions? Just shout them out. Okay, well, one I'll talk about on here. Well, actually, there's one that I don't think is on here, but make sure you hydrate. Basic life stuff is like 10x when you're presenting, right? Because the pressure's on. In my case, I literally have the setting sun like beating on me, so I'm quite warm. But you might have the lights of a stage on you in the future. You know, you have the pressure of the moment. Make sure you're super hydrated beforehand, and then make sure you're breathing really well. Lots of people assume they're good at breathing because, well, you're alive, but just because you're doing it doesn't mean you're any good at it. So if we do a quick check-in now, this is a really good test to understand how well you really are breathing. And I can probably see it on screen. Everyone just taking a big deep breath right now. Wonderful. However, if your shoulders ever move while you're breathing, does that mean you're breathing well? Your breath muscles in your shoulders? It's crazy. Babies breathe perfectly because they have no influence upon them other than pure genetics. And somehow we unlearn this as we go through life. We start using our shoulders and we breathe up here in the tops of our chests. When really, we all know from GCSE biology, which we all had to take if we were educated in Britain, but I assume to most standards around the world, that the diaphragm is what's sorting your breathing out, right? So the way to check if you're breathing properly is you make a little fist with your hand. You can do this sitting down, it is easier standing up. And you just tuck it underneath your bottom rib. And then you begin by breathing out. And as you breathe out, it's harder to demonstrate this on camera. As you breathe out, you're getting skinny and skinny and skinny. And you can feel your fist right underneath your rib cage. But then as you breathe in, your fist will be pushed out and you won't be able to get it underneath your rib cage. If your fist is not under your rib cage, then you are breathing out really strongly, really effectively. If you practice this, you will find you have so much more oxygen inside your lungs. You will find you have more energy, more confidence, a calmness to you, strength, confidence, authority, all of these things will flow through you, through your breathing, right? If you want to really learn this, the three types of people you want to listen to: yoga instructors, opera singers, or diving instructors. Those are the 3 best authority figures in the world on breathing. And now is a great time to watch some YouTube videos on this stuff. It will be transformative to your confidence and your ability to pitch. And if you don't believe me, try it anyway and see what happens. Okay.
Sorry, Mark. Hi, Mark. Sorry to chime in.
Please do. This is Howard, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Just a quick one. You have a question on the chat. I'm not sure if you saw it.
No, I have not. This is
do you want me to just read it out for you?
That would be great. Thank you.
Can I not speak within 20 seconds and just perform physical movements to show off my products?
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Because number one, so on this slide, you've got show them something, like, should I say, show them something new. Oh, it does above it, sorry. Show them something new. When you behave in a way that nobody else behaves, people go, oh, this is intriguing, right? So it's a good way of standing out. When you do something like that, you have to carry it off with total confidence, which can just come from practicing it lots. Because if people think, oh, this has happened by accident or the tech is broken, then they're worried about you rather than going, oh, I'm really excited. So just practice it, and I think that could be really, really cool. And equally, try it on people. If everyone says it's terrible, then it's a good idea, but it just didn't work, and don't feel bad about it, right? Like, failure is par for the course. It's going to happen as you do this stuff. And the more you tick off all those little individual bits and bobs of failure, the better quality the overall final product will be. Okay, cool. Any final questions? Okay, very cool. So to reiterate what we're going to do next, we'll take a kind of a 5-minute-ish break, go get hydrated or whatever it might be. We're going to split into 2 different rooms. I'm going to lead one. My colleague Howard is going to lead the other. And then you're going to get time to pitch and get feedback from him and indeed the group. I really encourage all of you to do a bit of feedback because it's a good way of learning. Best way to do feedback is always what I really liked first, you know, really, really good. And then second is even better if. So don't say, hey, you didn't use your hands and it was awful. Say, hey, I liked it. It was really enjoyable. If you'd use your hands even more, it would have been more engaging, or I would have felt more confidence from you, or whatever it might be. So I really, really encourage you to do that. For those of you who haven't started working on your presentation yet because you were waiting for this session, that's totally fair. It's a good idea. Why not take the next 5 minutes to just kind of write out a little introduction or something that you can kind of pitch and practice to. That's absolutely fine. And try and stick to the 2 minutes so that we can kind of give feedback to everyone.